The lights dimmed across the massive stage at the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles as millions of viewers across America settled in for another night of America's Got Talent. It was early spring of 2025, and the audition rounds were in full swing. Contestants from every corner of the country had come to showcase their talents, their dreams, their hopes of making it big. But nobody, absolutely nobody, was prepared for what was about to happen when a 28-year-old woman from San Diego stepped onto that stage. Jessica Sanchez walked out with her head held high, but those who looked closely could see her hands trembling slightly at her sides. She had been here before, not on this stage exactly, but in the spotlight. Years ago, she had competed on another singing competition, finishing as a runner-up and gaining a loyal following. But the music industry had been brutal. Record deals fell through, tours were cancelled, and slowly but surely, Jessica found herself working at a local coffee shop, serving lattes to customers who barely recognized her face. She had almost given up on music entirely. Almost. The judges sat forward in their seats. Simon Cowell, with his trademark critical gaze, looked skeptical. Heidi Klum smiled warmly, always ready to be surprised. Howie Mandel leaned back with his arms crossed, and Sofia Vergara adjusted her position, curious about this new contestant. Terry Crews, the host, stood off to the side, watching intently. Jessica introduced herself, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside her. She told them she was here for one more shot, one final chance to prove that she belonged on stage. She didn't mention her past failures, didn't talk about the nights she cried herself to sleep wondering if she had wasted her talent. She simply said she was ready to sing. The music began, soft and haunting. Jessica had chosen a song that nobody expected, a powerful ballad that had been made famous decades earlier. As the first notes left her lips, something magical happened. The entire theater fell into complete silence. Her voice soared through the space, rich and powerful, filled with emotion that could only come from someone who had truly struggled, truly suffered, and somehow found the strength to keep going. Simon's eyebrows raised. Heidi's mouth fell open. Howie sat up straight, and Sophia wiped a tear from her eye. In the audience, people were already on their feet, unable to contain their reaction to what they were hearing. This wasn't just good singing. This was something transcendent, something that reminded everyone why they loved music in the first place. When the final note rang out, the audience erupted into thunderous applause. All four judges slammed their hands down on the golden buzzers simultaneously, a moment that had never happened in the show's history. Confetti rained down from the ceiling as Jessica stood there, overwhelmed, tears streaming down her face. She had done it. She was going straight to the live shows. But the journey was only beginning, and it would be far more complicated than anyone imagined. The live shows arrived, and Jessica became an instant fan favorite. Week after week, she delivered performances that left audiences speechless. She sang classic ballads, modern pop hits, and even ventured into gospel music, showcasing a versatility that few performers possessed. Her story resonated with millions of Americans who had faced their own setbacks and failures. She became a symbol of resilience, of never giving up on your dreams no matter how impossible they seemed. However, not everything was smooth sailing. During the quarterfinals, disaster struck. Jessica woke up on the morning of her performance with a terrible throat infection. Her voice was raspy, her vocal cords inflamed. The show's medical team advised her to withdraw, to rest and recover. But Jessica refused. She had come too far, fought too hard to give up now. Against all medical advice, she took the stage that night. The performance was far from perfect. Her voice cracked on the high notes, and she struggled to maintain her usual power and control. When she finished, the audience applauded, but it was subdued, concerned. The judges looked worried. Simon, never one to mince words, told her it was her weakest performance yet. Howie agreed, saying she seemed off her game. For the first time since her audition, Jessica faced the real possibility of elimination. Social media exploded with debate. Some fans rallied behind her, praising her courage for performing while sick. Others criticized her decision, saying she should have withdrawn and come back stronger. The voting period opened, and Jessica's fate hung in the balance. The results show was agonizing. Terry Crews slowly announced the acts that were advancing, and Jessica's name wasn't called. She stood in the bottom two, facing elimination alongside a young dance crew from Chicago. The tension was unbearable. Then, in a twist that shocked everyone, the judges were given a rare chance to use their collective save. They huddled together, debating intensely. Finally, Simon spoke up, his voice firm and decisive. They were saving Jessica. She was moving forward. The relief on Jessica's face was palpable, but she knew she had to come back stronger than ever. The semifinals were approaching, and she couldn't afford another misstep. Jessica spent the next week resting her voice, working with vocal coaches, and preparing for the most important performance of her life. She chose a song that was deeply personal, one she had written herself during her darkest days working at the coffee shop. It was about redemption, about finding your voice again after the world has tried to silence you. The night of the semifinals arrived, and the energy in the theater was electric. When Jessica walked onto that stage, she looked different. There was a fire in her eyes, a determination that hadn't been there before. The music started, gentle piano notes that built slowly into a sweeping orchestral arrangement. And then she sang. This time, her voice was flawless, soaring effortlessly through the melody with a power and emotion that brought the entire audience to their feet before she even finished. People in the theater were crying, hugging each other, completely overwhelmed by what they were witnessing. The judges sat in stunned silence, and when the final note faded, even Simon Cowell stood up and applauded, something he rarely did. The votes poured in by the millions, and when the results were announced, Jessica had received the highest number of votes in the show's history. She was going to the finals. The finale of America's Got Talent 2025 was one of the most watched television events of the year. Jessica was competing against incredible acts. A mind-blowing magician from New York, a comedy duo from Texas who had the whole country laughing, and an acrobatic group from Las Vegas that defied gravity with every move. The competition was fierce, and nobody could predict who would win. For her final performance, Jessica made a bold choice. Instead of playing it safe with a crowd-pleasing cover, she performed an original song she had written specifically for this moment. It was a love letter to everyone who had ever been told they weren't good enough, to everyone who had failed and gotten back up, to everyone who refused to let their dreams die. As she sang, images flashed on the screens behind her. Her working at the coffee shop, old photos from her previous competition, videos of her practicing in her small apartment, messages of support from fans across the country. It was more than a performance. It was a story, a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome anything. When she finished, the standing ovation lasted for over 5 minutes. Terry Crews could barely speak as he tried to move the show forward. The judges were unanimous in their praise, with Sophia calling it the best finale performance she had ever seen. Then came the moment of truth. The votes had been counted, verified, and recounted. Terry stood on stage with the remaining contestants, the envelope in his hand. The tension was almost unbearable as he slowly opened it, savoring the moment. And then he said the words that would change Jessica's life forever. The winner of America's Got Talent 2025 is Jessica Sanchez. The confetti cannons exploded, the audience roared, and Jessica collapsed to her knees, overwhelmed with emotion. She had done it. The girl who had served coffee just months ago, the singer who had almost given up on her dreams, the woman who had faced rejection and failure and kept fighting anyway, was now the champion of America's Got Talent. In the weeks that followed, Jessica's life transformed completely. Her original songs topped the charts, she signed a major record deal, and she embarked on a sold-out national tour. But more importantly, she became an inspiration to millions, proving that it's never too late to chase your dreams, that setbacks don't define you, and that sometimes the most beautiful victories come after the hardest battles. America had found its voice in Jessica Sanchez, and her story would be remembered for generations to come as one of the greatest comebacks in television history.